Okay, last lecture video for this particular unit for the lecture portion of muscle. So we're going to talk about the difference between the two muscle fibers and use the story of the tortoise and the hare to get us to that point. And then we're just going to look real quickly on what happens to your muscles as you age. This is a story about the tortoise and the hare. If you are not familiar about the story, you need to go home and tell your parents that they deprived you. But it's a story about a turtle who challenges a rabbit or a hare to a race because the rabbit's always bragging about how fast and amazing it is, and the tortoise wants to put it in its place. Well, obviously the rabbit is faster. It's a faster animal, and the reason will become clear to you in just a minute. But it gets a little cocky along the way, stops, takes a nap as it waits for the tortoise, and eventually the slow and steady tortoise ends up winning the race. So the moral of the story is two. Number one, genetically, they have two different types of muscles. That's the anatomical moral of the story. And the moral of the story number two is don't brag about stuff because eventually someone's going to shut you down, including the slow tortoise. So not all skeletal muscles have identical functional capabilities. There are two types of muscle fibers, slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers. You have a combination of both in your body. Some areas of your body have a concentration of one of the kind versus another. So for instance, in your eyelid, you have a concentration of fast twitch fibers because your eyelids have to blink really quickly. And then there are other parts of your body where you have a concentration of the slow twitch fibers. But overall, you genetically have more than of one kind of fiber than another kind of fibers. And you can easily tell which one you have more of if you just think about the things that you're good at, in terms of, if I line you up on the 100-meter dash start line, if you are going to be really good at that 100-yard dash, or if you'd be thinking to yourself, man, I could dominate if this was a mile. That gives you an idea of your genetic makeup of muscle fibers. The three main differences between the muscle fibers are different forms of myosin, different rate of ATP breakdown, and different amounts of blood supply. So we're going to start with the tortoise because he wins, obviously, the race. Tortoises are composed mainly of slow twitch fibers. So this is the first type of fiber found in your body, also called red fibers because they're darker in appearance. So when you eat your turkey for Thanksgiving and you say, oh, I would prefer dark meat, what you're actually saying is that you would prefer slow twitch fibers. They have myosin that allow fibers to contract more slowly, but are more fatigue resistant. So they can last a longer period of time. And that's because the ATP is broken down slowly. It's also because there is a huge amount of blood supply to these muscles and a lot of mitochondria. And if you remember back to the cell unit, the mitochondria is going to convert oxygen into chemical energy. Apply that to the energy lecture video. We now have muscles that are using that oxygen more efficiently, spreading it out, and allowing that process for those muscles to be made over a longer period of time. Slow twitch fibers are going to be found in those endurance types of runners, those people that run the mile or the marathon, who can't generate a crazy amount of speed, but can go distances for a lot longer period of time. And again, mainly because the contractions are slower, ATP is broken down more slowly, so they have more of a continuous supply of energy, and they have a larger supply of oxygen because of the blood supply and the mitochondria. That brings us to the hare. The hare has fast twitch fibers, and these have myosin that allow the fibers to contract very quickly, so that power stroke happens very fast, but they cannot sustain those contractions or those powerful contractions for a very long time, so they fatigue very quickly. ATP is broken down faster, so again the energy source is used at a lot faster rate than in slow twitch fibers. These are also called white fibers, so if you want light meat, you're actually preferring to eat fast twitch fibers. The cross-bridge attachment release and attachment happens faster and more rapidly, again using up that ATP. There's a less well-developed blood supply, and they have fewer and smaller mitochondria, so again, there's just not as many of those structures that convert oxygen into energy as there is in white twitch fibers, meaning that they fatigue faster, go through the ATP faster, go through the oxygen faster, and again, cannot sustain that speed for a very long period of time. That is the story of slow twitch fibers or red fibers and fast twitch fibers or white fibers. Last thing is looking at what happens to your muscles as you age, as you get older. Not something any of you are worried about at this point in time, but as you start to hit midlife and older, then you will start to see these changes in your muscle tone. First of all, your muscle mass will just naturally start to decrease, and your response time decreases in part because there's less actin and myosin to contract and cause that movement to occur. You have reduced stamina. There's an increase in recovery time, so that when we think back to your energy video about how your body recovers from fatigue, that process takes a lot longer as you get older. And typically, those people who genetically have more fast twitch muscle fibers than slow twitch, those fast twitch muscles start to decrease in mass fast. So they will start to see more muscle atrophy at a quicker rate than those people who have more of the slow twitch muscle fibers. This is just a natural process of aging, a natural process of what happens as your muscle cells start to get older. The best thing that you can do is continue to exercise all through your life. Not only is that good for your bones, but it also helps keep the diameter of your muscle fibers bigger, and it reduces the natural effects of aging. This is it. Last bit of information that you need for your lecture test. So make sure that you are kind of reviewing these things over the course of the next couple of weeks before we take this test. I know it's easy to get wrapped up in the cat and the human muscle diagrams, but this test will be important as well, so just make sure you're kind of reviewing these things, and if you have any questions, make sure you let me know.